Welcome, everyone, to Taking Back Control, How to Govern AI in the Real World. I'm Kathryn Stevenson, Director of Global Partnerships at WinPure. At WinPure, we help organizations improve data quality and governance because every great business decision starts with clean, trustworthy data. And today, I'm joined by one of our valued partners, someone who connects with governance, compliance, and leadership in a practical way. Amy Bittle, founder and CEO of Amy Bittle Consulting. Amy helps organizations strengthen systems, align with compliance frameworks, and build trust across teams. Amy, it is great to have you here.
Thank you, Kathryn. I'm really happy to be here. At Amy Bittle Consulting, we help organizations build their confidence from cybersecurity within their systems, but we help them build cybersecurity confidence from also within compliance. And then we move on to data protection to be able to provide a holistic picture to our clients. We try to turn technical language into clear, real world, actionable processes that teams can follow. So for me, I always look at governance is as my goal to make it look as though it's doable, right? Keeping your business clear, calm, and out of chaos. So fewer fires, fewer headaches. And I think that's something that a lot of leaders, want balance in their organizations. Being responsible without feeling restricted. So today we're talking about clarity, structure, trust, and that gives our leaders and their team the confidence to control and confidence.
I love that. So, doable again. That makes governance sound approachable instead of intimidating. So, Amy, the phrase taking back control sounds empowering. But in the world of AI, where everything feels automated and fast moving, what does that really mean for business leaders?
For me, looking at that for business leaders, it means remembering that technology doesn't run your business, people do. And so I would like people to consider this two departments, both brilliant, both busy, are trying to solve the same issue, but from each working from different data. Now, how successful is that going to be? That's not innovation, that's chaos. So for me, and Amy Bittle Consulting, we look at governance as something that restores clarity. Governance turns chaos into confidence, and it's about taking that governance and building a rhythm, not so much as looking at it from the perspective of red tape. The same way that you would budget or you would plan your operations, your data needs a rhythm too. So think about it like this. Every day we do it. You're cooking in your kitchen and you're trying to cook from three recipes at once,
You
right?
know, I can't cook right.
Well, if you did, right? You're trying to cook from three recipes at once. And so you put out all your ingredients and you try to look, and the goal is out of those three recipes, you got to pick one plan and follow that one plan. Everything will come together much faster and smoother. And so that's the perspective that I look at governance. When governance is built into your business, AI becomes something that you direct, not something that directs you.
That's such a good image. Directing instead of being directed. I think a lot of leaders need to hear that today. Drop a yes in the chat if you've ever felt like tech was running you instead of the other way round. How many yeses? If you see me looking to the right, Amy, it's just I am keeping an idea on the chat to see if any of our followers, no, audience, have any comments for us today. But so yeah, a lot of people hear AI governance and picture checklists. How is it different from traditional data governance?
So for me, I look at traditional governance focuses on the systems and the permissions, who has access to what, right? Whereas AI governance brings in a new piece. It's about adding that fairness, the accountability, and transparency into the mix. And so that's when policies and principles like the frameworks, I'm sure that a lot of people have heard of the NIST frameworks and NIST AI RMF, which is a risk management framework, and ISO 42001. These two frameworks help build that picture. And ideally, yes, we have to follow rules, but people don't just want big binders that they just have to just sigh and say, hey, I have to read all of this. They want clarity in what they're going to use. And that's what these frameworks bring. So picture this. An HR team uses an AI tool to screen resumes. And I think that's something we all deal with, right?
Yeah.
So it's efficient, definitely, for that team. But I think the question that no one asks is, what is the data teaching on this system and what's the story that it's telling?
Mm,
So once teams understand that, governance stops feeling like a restriction and starts feeling more like leadership. Often visibility problems aren't even technical, they're a human issue.
mm,
So simple things like saving files locally or creating updates,
mm,
spontaneously, or saving these files somewhere else, it creates a risk because there's not one streamlined system. So governance tries to keep, it doesn't try, but governance keeps everyone on the same page. You're not
mm.
working from 5 different systems.
I can understand that. Yeah. Having the same mapping. Everyone's lived that 10 versions of the same document floating around, guilty as charged. Let's talk about something every company deals with, data quality. We've all seen messy CRMs. How does governance show up here? And what's the financial impact of not having clean data?
Honestly, Catherine, that's a great issue. So I think this is definitely for those HR teams and those sales guys, right? We've all seen CRMs where you have a Robert Smith, a Bob R. Smith. You also have, you know, uh, R. Smith Jr., right? So you put those same things together, same person, right? But it looks like a different person. It's funny until you realize those duplicates of the same person cost money and are missed follow up opportunities, doubling in billing and doubling in wasted effort. So that's where data quality tools like WinPure Clean and Match really, really shine because they identify and merge and fix duplicate inconsistencies within systems and give leaders a single accurate view of customers and vendors. So when I work with organizations, I really just think don't just stop at the cleanup process. Look at
No.
the data. How did things actually get messy? Because that gets into your processes. You get to understand why their data was messy, that there were no standards, there was no ownership, and there was no accountability. And the goal is at Amy Bittle Consulting, we come in with that idea of how that clean and match tool works with us, and we try to build a routine that cleans it up long term and builds that clean long term accountability within your systems.
So your decisions get smarter, basically.
Absolutely.
I think every sales rep just nodded. That example hits home. And I would add for our audience that we on the WinPure website have a great ROI calculator. So do try it for yourselves. Perhaps one of my team could pop the link in the chat here for you all to see how you get on. Now, you mentioned seeing clearly. How do privacy laws and compliance frameworks fit into that without overwhelming smaller organizations?
So I'm sure that we've all heard names like GDPR and HIPAA when you go to the doctor. So all these laws, GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, POPIA, and I'm just going to give these as an example, and
Mm,
the UAE data protection law all say one thing: data belongs to people. GDPR lets people know how to use their data, and HIPAA protects health information. And POPIA and the UAE law mirror regionally the same ideas. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, well, how does this affect me? Because I don't even use these regulations, or I think I don't, right? So even small businesses need to map their data flows because privacy and trust go hand in hand. That's how your people are going to trust you.
mm,
So picture this concept. Your company collects data across 5 different systems, and no one says where it actually resides. So when I work with clients, we draw the path so that data enters and travels, and you understand who owns it. So once you can see it, compliance feels very manageable. So, in a sense, just bringing it down to that real world example,
mm,
think about our rooms, right? Or think about one of our kids' rooms.
Oh
It's
no.
turning on the lights in a messy room. Suddenly, you know what's fine and you know what needs fixing. And that same idea goes back into your business where leaders gain visibility and they gain confidence.
That's great. Compliance is as turning on the lights. It makes us feel empowering and not tedious. You said
Absolutely.
before, government isn't a brake pedal, it's a steering wheel. How can leaders innovate and still stay compliant?
Honestly, that is such a great, great question. If you give me a moment, I would think
Mm.
innovation, really. Sometimes people don't actually think that innovation and compliance can work together, innovation and rules can work together.
Oh, Amy, I think you're frozen.
Oh, can you see me now?
Yep, sorry, you just froze there for a second.
Well, I apologize for
No
that.
problem.
I
You
didn't.
looked pretty in the freeze, so that's
Well,
cool.
thank you. Isn't that great? So, governance, just to piggyback, governance doesn't slow innovation, it guides it. So, when people know and they understand the rules, they innovate faster because they feel safer to explore. And the systems that I design, I connect compliance, security, and creativity so that teams can take smart risks without exposure. I'm going to give you an example. Consider this big picture. Structure isn't restriction. It's sort of building a rhythm. The rhythm is what lets innovation flow safely. So clean governed data has a solid foundation. And when trust is built into innovation, that lasts longer and it builds a support structured system. And it's sort of like jazz. I love random examples, but it's sort of like jazz. You can
Like it.
improvise all you want when everyone knows the rhythm.
I love it. So governance is jazz with guardrails. Love it. Before we wrap up and answer any questions that our audience may have, can you clarify the difference between generative AI and machine learning AI and why it matters for governance?
I definitely think this is a question that a lot of people are interested in, but they don't understand how this all may come together in simple terms. So imagine this one AI model on your data's on your organization's own data is trained in another way on the entire internet. Which would you actually trust? The customer's privacy? So machine learning, it comes together and analyzes the patterns, right?
Right.
With the data you put in there, it analyzes the patterns in a structured data to make predictions like detecting fraud or duplicates. And then generative AI, on a different perspective, creates new content, text, or code based on what it's learned. So governance differs on each side. Machine learning needs data quality controls, and generative AI needs ethical and bias oversight. So
Hmm.
when you train AI locally on your own data, you protect and avoid these so-called hallucinations in a way, right? Because governance isn't about control for control's sake. And I know that's the reputation that we all have. We're just these folks that come in and we're slamming these rules down, right? It's about confidence in what your AI is learning from, and that's why your data is very important.
I love it. Yes. Perfectly said. It's one of the clearest explanations I've heard, to be honest with you. Now, let me just have a look into the chat and see if we've got any questions from the super people who have joined us today. Uh, oh, yes, we have one here from, oh, it's an email address that I can't read out. So, in many organizations, and Amy, if you can't answer this on the cuff, don't worry, we'll come back and answer it later for them. But in many organizations, data quality and AI governance are handled by separate teams. What needs to change operationally for those areas to work together?
So, in a lot of organizations, we tend to be siloed. You have the operations department, you have the IT department, you have another business section, and you have the legal section. Truthfully, you got to come together because you have to understand high level
Mm,
what everyone does, what everyone's responsibility. When you understand from a lower level what everyone's responsibility is, then you can come in and start to integrate those pieces into each of those departments and have a single-handed plan that you all use to work together. And that's
Yes.
how I would recommend that for the
Yeah,
change.
that was a great question. Did that answer your question, Agree? See if he writes back in the comments section. Unfortunately, what we can't do on here is see questions that are posted on LinkedIn, I believe. So what we will be able to do is round those up afterwards when we see them and get them over to Amy for your answers, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to
Super. With more time to think. Amy, this has been such a powerful conversation. You've made governments feel practical and inspiring. We haven't overrun. But before we close, what's one takeaway you'd like the audience to remember about taking back control?
Well, definitely thank you, Kathryn. I have just enjoyed, having the opportunity to just talk to everyone who joined. I think one takeaway I would say is consider when your systems are steady, your confidence returns. You understand that there really no underlying, they may be underlying issues, but you feel more confident to talk about it. And governance isn't a burden. It's not a group of police that are coming to knock you down. Really, we're your friends. We're here to help you. And so and so when you trust your system's data, you're going to lead with confidence. And for Amy Bittle Consulting, we combine confidence, governance, and compliance to really help an organization build confidence into their systems that work in real life, not just on paper for an audit. So when you turn that structure, as I love to say it, you're going to build that rhythm and stay compliant and stay confident.
That's brilliant. And we've just had another question come in from Samir. Hi, Samir. Both of you, you and I, work with organizations that operate in complex data environments. What are the biggest governance gaps you're seeing right now when it comes to how AI is being adopted?
I would definitely say, just for one, you have folks who are using the tools, whether it's for prompts or anything small like that, but leadership doesn't know what tools are being used on their systems, right? So I definitely would think that is one that comes in.
That's
So
very,
you may
true. I've had emails from senior figures in organizations saying we don't use your product when they do, but they don't know they do.
And so I think that's where that comes together, to get on one sheet of music, to really get your folks in, have a great big meeting, and or whether it's a training, to really understand your folks' perspective on, hey, maybe there's an AI tool that they'd like to use. Let's see if we can actually go through the leadership process and try to get it approved, right? And then,
Yeah.
so then everyone can get trained on this tool, so you don't have so many unauthorized tools on your
But would
systems.
you also agree, because obviously not everybody's going to use, for example, the WinPure tool, but would you agree that a lot of communication about what people are doing, whether it's to do with the WinPure tool or other tools, companies don't really broadcast, by the way, we're using this and this is why we're using it and this is what it's going to help them with, because they don't feel it's a necessary piece of information, rather than saying, this is what we're doing. And, everybody should know, join everybody together is kind of what you're saying, yeah?
Yes, so I think that in a sense, it's not a popular conversation, but
Mm,
it's really that idea of, we're talking about taking control back. Let's
mm.
change the way that AI is changing our lives. Let's change the way that we're looking at it. Let's change the way that we're looking at getting our folks together, hearing everybody, and getting buy-in throughout the whole organization. Because then I think once you have that, you're going to have people who are more open to learning and more open to following the rules, which is something that I feel like us security folks love. Once they understand,
Absolutely.
they're going to follow it.
Yes, because they understand why. Whereas
Mhm.
if you just get asked to do something, it becomes a task or a chore. Whereas if you understand why
Exactly.
you're doing it and that it's actually going to help everybody, then it's a completely different thing, isn't it? And we've got
Yes.
another question in here from Chris. Hi, Chris. What's the role of education in preparing people for an AI-driven world? Now that's interesting, isn't it? What do you think the role is?
So
In,
I do think that's
I'm
interesting.
guessing.
because I know that I'm with WinPure right now, but Amy Bittle Consulting also has a partnership with AI Certs, where
Mm,
holistically we all are working together to really change that view of AI, and we provide courses in different organizations and different industries to help you understand how things are changing specifically to build that educational piece.
mm,
Then that's where, from that AI certs portion, that's where after that my partnership with WinPure comes in and helps you understand the data. Once you understand how to use the tools, and that's how changing in the education works, then we come in with understanding your data and then
mm.
change everything. So that's how the role of education is working. I hope that
That's
helps.
cool. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Chris. I was actually wondering myself when I saw that question, how much education do you think there is around AI and, like you were talking about, legacy AI, generative AI? How much of that's going on in universities, do you think?
So I've had some conversations with some university personnel, and it's not. Right.
Oh,
And so for the specific, I can't name them, right? Just out of privacy and respect. But I remember having this conversation even a month ago because their worry was, I was talking to a leadership department, and their worry was these students are walking in with these tech degrees and other degrees, but AI is being used in a way on their systems without those guardrails. And then also, teachers don't necessarily know how to teach it. And I think that's why this is important. That AI piece of those courses, along with helping our university students and the
mm.
personnel who actually teach them, is then changing the view and changing how processes work. And I definitely think that's something that needs to go hand in hand.
I think you're quite right. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's been interesting. Remember, governance isn't about restriction, it's about direction. When your data is clean, your systems align, and your people empowered, you don't just move faster, you move smarter, right? Thank you again for joining us, and we hope you got answers to the questions that you asked us. Thank you for that. If you want to ask more, please feel free to reach out to myself or Amy. But it's been a pleasure. Amy, appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed today, and I'm looking forward to potentially hearing from folks. Thank you.
Yeah, please do get in touch with us. Our email addresses are in the chat room. So feel free to reach out, and we'd love to continue the conversation with you.
Thank
Take
you.
care for now. Thank you, Amy.
Bye.
Bye.